That's a very unique question.
I know, so there's people times where I'm like, oh, I could have
love
shared this,
that.
but I couldn't share
Can I
this.
copy that?
Welcome back, everyone. My name is John, and today we're joined by Lester de Guzman. De Guzman, right?
Correct.
Fantastic. He is not only a professional ballroom dancer, but he has worked at BCIT for their marketing department. And not only that, though, right now, he's working in marketing for the City of Richmond. He has a lot to share, so please, welcome. Lester, thank you so much for joining on the show today.
Thank you, John, for having me here. I'm really excited to chat with you a little bit more about marketing and maybe some stories behind. We could chat about it a little bit more. But yeah, thanks. Nice to be here.
Absolutely. So, how I know Lester? We do ballroom dancing here. We'll jump into that a little bit, but Lester, give me a little bit of rundown of your story. Obviously, a little bit of where you're from, how you ended up in marketing, and how you ended up working for the city of Richmond.
Yes.
Because that's quite a leap.
Right. Well, I didn't grow up in Canada. I grew up in the Philippines, and I did my undergraduate in entrepreneurship. Basically, didn't think about going to North America. Mm-hmm. And eventually, I had the opportunity after graduating my bachelor's degree to go to China and study my master's in business administration there. It's not in Chinese; it's in English. So I got the opportunity to really travel China and also travel the world and get an opportunity to go to France to study a little bit more of international marketing.
Oh, okay.
But after graduating and taking my master's, I literally did international business instead. So I went to Hong Kong and worked there for 2 years, and they moved me to Indonesia to head their office there. So that's where some of the businesses were international business was taking into leap and taking into account to that. And then my parents moved here in 2012.
Okay.
And then they decided to bring the whole family, and I had the opportunity to go here to Canada
How
in
old were
2012.
you when you at 2012?
I was 24.
Okay.
But then because I generally had schooling, and that's right after my graduation, I was able to come here as a dependent by my parents. And then decided to I have to finish my contract. I had to go back to Indonesia to finish my contract for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment I finished my contract in 2014, I decided to come back to Canada and finish my, stay here for good. And I didn't know what to expect. It was a little bit more of a struggle as an immigrant. Mm-hmm. And with all the experience and all the education that I had before, it was a struggle to really integrate and immigrate here because I can't find the job that I wanted. So I ended up doing retail. So I did a bit
Retail,
of jobs in clothing store, in furniture shop. I stayed mostly to the furniture shop for almost 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
And then I decided to, my brother had a good program at BCIT, and he told me that he's doing IT back then, and he decided to finish 2 years of diploma and then went for a good career in IT. And then he told me you should probably consider going back to school. And I said, I don't want a bachelor's degree. And any Asian parents would be you should go back to school.
Yeah, all my parents too.
All of the parents literally would want to push us to do well in school. So he said, go back to BCIT. And so I decided to go back to BCIT for 2 years, just so that I could get into the marketing side. And I decided to take marketing program. BCIT in a way provides that entry into a lot of industry folks, and that's where I invested heavily on my network. So there they provided us with opportunities to network with industry people from agencies and also from client side. And so I knew that I wanted to be in marketing the moment I did marketing communications at that school. Once fast forward after graduation, pandemic hit. 2020, can't find a job.
Everybody couldn't find a job.
You couldn't find a job. I'm competing with people who got laid off or basically graduating as well. So I generally had to scramble, and I found a job in an e-commerce site called VitaSave, and that's where I stayed for 1 year. I was a e-commerce coordinator and then got promoted in 6 months as a manager. But then I had a good program when I was at BCIT. It's called The Leaders of Tomorrow by the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade.
I remember seeing that when you were posting about that before.
Correct. For that program, you are paired, as in your final year of university or even undergraduate or diploma, you are able to connect with the industry folk and be a mentor for a year.
So you're getting mentored by
by them. So one of the members of the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade got an opportunity to mentor by her, and then she asked me after in 2021 to be like, do you want to come to BCIT and work for her? So
Oh, she's part of the school.
she's part of the school.
Oh, so
She was actually one of the vice presidents in marketing communications. And when that opportunity came about, I said, you know what, I want to really focus on, because e-commerce was a little bit different from marketing communications.
very
There's
different.
still alignment, but at the same time, I really want to hone into the education that I took from BCIT. So I went back to marketing communications. There,
Work or school?
work.
Okay.
So I work for the marketing and communications department for that school, for BCIT, and then worked hard. There were some like adjustments when it comes to like the deliverables, but at the end of it in 2023, I got promoted to business development manager by School of Business and Media, where I work with a lot of the faculties and enjoying a lot of the networking side, and I got to really dive into the marketing communication side of the school. And then an opportunity came when they said that, there was an opportunity that happened when City of Richmond was hiring for a program manager for marketing, and that's when I took the chance in last year to apply for this role currently that I'm in. And I decided to start that last year, and now I'm here and enjoying the perks of the marketing side. So generally I'm not a specialist. I'm mostly like a general strategist. So I look into all the ways to strategize all of the campaigns, from digital marketing, print, social media, even for paid advertising, communications, press releases and whatnot. That's my bread and butter. However, the value that I bring in was the analytics side. So the analytics side really provides you with numbers and metrics and measurements when it comes to the marketing side, because technology is available now, and the pandemic really pushed everybody
Into
to
technology.
use into the technology. So that's when I really re-emphasize that, you know what, like there's a storytelling element into it, or the creative side of brand, but there's an analytics side of brand where you could find results and see which worked, which doesn't work, which is quantifiable, and you could analyze that in a much better and more presentable way. So that's where I think the sweet spot of marketing now is at.
Basically, it's the marriage of the creative, but also the analytics.
Correct.
And kind of bringing them into both, so you can
Correct.
see both sides.
Yeah.
In your experience, obviously, you've had quite, you could say, kind of a rough start getting into it because you were fighting with everybody in the pandemic.
Yes.
Would you still recommend people to pursue a career in marketing if they have an interest in it? Like just someone who's young, fresh out of high school, and they're looking at it like, oh, AI, is this worth it? I'm competing with all these people. Is it something that's worth taking a look into still?
I think, in a way, education is something that is a lifelong pursuit. Like, basically, learning and education is something that you have to constantly pursue in your life, because you cannot be just like happy with what you are and what you know. There is always something to be learned. Like what AI is also doing right now is that it's pushing us to evolve as professionals, because there's more jobs now in AI than before, and they would not destroy but enhance some of the experience, and at the same time also the operational stuff. It actually expedites it, and so in a way you have to adapt into that fast-paced environment, or else you will be left behind. So I would always say, first of all, when you're exploring education or like a career, find what you're passionate about, because that's the life that you'll be having in the future. Not something that because it's going to pay you money. Of course, that's something that you want, if that's the lifestyle that you want to. But when it comes to education, you have to find the passion, because nevertheless, even AI, even technology evolves, there will still be a need for something. Either you're in the dance, you're in marketing, you're in business, you're in analytics, you're in accounting, law, writing, stuff like that. There is opportunity there. Right now, a lot of cities are struggling with planners, because not a lot of people have a degree in planning, in urban planning. And before, that was almost not as a...
That wasn't a problem.
That wasn't a problem, but now, because with the new technology, planners are important for industries or municipalities to develop, but nobody's actually studying that.
Because no one wants to do that.
Nobody wants to do that before, because it wasn't lucrative. But now they actually are very, very high demand, and they're quite good pay.
Did you hear that? Urban planners.
Urban planners. It's actually pretty good. So in a way, find your passion, and when you're passionate about that, you will excel in that sense.
What made you so passionate about marketing? So this does sound like marketing, specifically on the analytics side, is something that you're really diving deep into. Like, how did you find this passion? How did you know this was the thing that you wanted to pursue?
So I think ever since when I was little, I always liked storytelling, commercials, television.
Really?
And back in the Philippines, it kind of like, every single time I watch a commercial or a TV or a movie, it literally brings me into the storytelling part. And that's why I feel like that was a natural inclination of marketing. However, I didn't really got into it because people want to be an accountant. Your Asian parents would be like, oh, you have to be an accountant to be a successful business person or in finance. That really, I was able to hone into that skill set, but I wasn't really, there wasn't a natural inclination of it. It was like, okay, I have to do it best because I have to be good at math. You have to be good in accounting. You have to be generally good in numbers in order for you to be successful in business, which is true. But at the same time, I didn't find the actual passion in it until when I worked for the international trade company. Everything what I was doing was numbers. I was forecasting. I was looking into like Excel sheets, like big spreadsheets of cost analysis and whatnot. And I honed that technique, but I didn't find passion. So when I went to BCIT, I was thinking about, should I go back to my analytics, which is I have a strong experience already, or do I want to lean into a different portfolio? And so marketing communication was really a natural inclination. And so I love the storytelling part of it. I like the creative. I remember even saying before that I want to go back to making posters, like traditional ads, because that's where I thought I really enjoyed it. Print media. But then at the same time, it was dying. Even back in 2018, people knew that Facebook and social media will be the next thing, or it was the next thing. But I wasn't really like, oh, do I want to do that? It feels very shady to be in social media. But that mentor that I told you from the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade really provided me with the opportunity to like, hey, look into digital marketing because that's the future, and that's where I lean heavily now. And I'm happy that I did it because, of course, there's the print element that I was passionate about, but it really forced me into a medium that I wasn't really 100% comfortable in. I wanted to pursue, but I think it's a matter of accident and luck in that sense that, okay, now I'm in this realm of marketing and digital marketing and whatnot.
When you say market communication, what does that exactly mean? Obviously, traditional marketing, we think like commercials,
Yes.
we think sponsored ads, all that fun stuff.
Right.
But for you, how would you define market communication?
So, in marketing, there's 4 Ps, right? There's product, price, promotion, and place. And those 4 Ps is very important in order for you to have a good marketing mix, in order for you to be successful as a marketer. Marketing communication hones into the promotional side alone. So basically the innovations, the strategies when it comes to the medium, market research of where companies are, or your audience or your target audience are like using their medium. Are they on Facebook? Are they in Twitter? Are they in Reddit? Instagram, Reddit. So the marketing communication side is basically looking into the promotional side and creating campaigns, messaging, and creating different mediums to communicate the value proposition of your of products. However, there is also the pricing strategy as well. Like, how do you price something in order for you to be competitive, or do you want to be unique? Like luxury brands, pricing plays a big role. Place distribution is also an important piece, like Walmart is doing now, or even Amazon is doing now. It's revolutionizing that delivery industry of how people get their goods. And the product innovation itself, like entrepreneurship is really encouraged to develop like something that's so scarce or something that's not used, and then make it to something valuable. That like this water bottle from Contingo, it's just a plastic bottle if you think about it, but you buy it just because there's a value that you perceive in it. So you innovate it from the cup to the hooks to everything. It's the technology around it. So those marketing mixed together will create that specific brand equity and brand value for you to be a good, reputable company to sell something.
When you talk about brand, what is your definition of brand? Everybody's definition of brand is skewed. How would you define what a brand is?
I think brand, that's a very good question actually. A lot of people think brand is just logos, but I don't think that's just the case right now. I think a brand is a long-term goal to something for people to be, for your target customers or your possible audience to recognize you or remember you as a as something. So brands tend to have it how to call it evokes emotion for people or for customers. For me, like for me, for example, I'm such a Apple hardwood fan that the brand itself, everything I see about Apple, it's so like innovative or something that's user friendly or such something to do with like technology forward. That brand evokes that emotions to me, and I think that's the goal of branding, is to whenever I see a Patagonia or a Starbucks right next door, I know that that is a good quality product. The four piece will deliver the same experience for me. So I think branding has evolved throughout the years, and I think it's more important now than ever because there's so much noise in the industry where you see so many ads pushing forward to you. Before, back then, you only see ads on televisions and TV shows and also on your newspaper.
The free newspaper?
The free newspaper.
The Metro 24
sometimes, but now it's paid. And then
Yeah.
also the transit ads. But those are places that you see, or it's being not pushed on you, but it's a time for you to do it, like, or it's time for you to see it. Because I only go after work, going to a TV show, like watch my favorite TV shows and have the commercials. That's when the commercials are pushed. But I have a break from that back then. Now you're actually being pushed with your phone, with all of your apps, with your computer, with your website. Everything is like you have to have constant communication. You're being communicated the value of many, many different companies. So now, how do you actually get out through the noise? It's through your brand. And that's always a long-term goal. You cannot just develop a brand just within overnight because it would just be a fad in a way. Brands develops trust. Brands actually invokes emotion, and brands really holds the value of the company.
With brands, obviously there's branding, you want to do the value proposition, but there's always that profit side because there are some companies that are publicly traded and the investors are like, hey,
Right.
money. How would you balance it between building the long-term brand versus keeping your investors happy? Because if the investors aren't happy, well, you don't got a business to work with.
Right.
But if you don't build a good brand, you don't have customers that come to you. So how do you balance that? That's like such a catch-22.
Yeah, I think that's also a challenge when it comes to like selling the brand of what you're trying to do. But at the same time, it's always about communicating the goal of what the company or the executive people wanted to do. If you are able to convince them to say a branding is important for your business, a branding is important for you to really hone that messaging clearly and be consistent about it, it would take time, and you have to be honest with your investors that it would take time for you to find the equity into your brand. It's not something that I got this customer already and then that's it. That's the sale that I'll get. The biggest selling piece when it comes to branding is that customer loyalty. Sometimes it's even harder to get new customers than engaging your loyal customers. So it's always branding evokes that repeat of purchase of, oh, somebody actually loves Lululemon. That Lululemon, I know once I see it, I always want to buy it because it's a good quality product. From product, price, promotion, I see that whether who's their one of their advertisers now, or the Olympics. Mm-hmm. They're a big sponsor of the Olympics. That your like sense of pride and whatnot, and that's a promotional piece. So, in a way, I always see that the long-term goal cannot be quantified in money. It's always about what is your goal in creating this brand or developing this brand? It's always about like your actual goal of being remembered, the values is being communicated, you're being recognized by customers, and that doesn't mean that they will buy it, but at least they will know what your company or your brand means to them. So it's not easy, but as long as it's not easy to communicate the value because it's such a long-term goal. Unless your client wants to just you just want a cash cow and like try to get as much revenue as possible, you can do that in many, many different ways, but not branding. Branding is a long-term goal. You could just say, you know what, let's do a giveaway or something like a promo, bundling it, or having like a buy one, get 50% off. That's basically just a sales strategy, but not a branding. So making sure that you're communicating the right expectation, the right objectives through branding, that might be helpful for convincing them to invest in branding. If not, then maybe it's not the right time for them to invest in branding. That's how I would see it.
Would you say that brand is very important to a company's longevity? Because there are definitely companies where you can see like, oh, they're trying to make money.
Yes.
Shows. And they do a good job making money. There are
Right.
some companies who don't make as much money, but they're more focused on brand. What is your
Right.
take on that?
I don't know if you've read the book by Simon Sinek.
Which one?
It's called the Infinite Game.
Yes, there's no end to the game, and you're always trying to get
You
better.
always yes, and branding is fulfilling that purpose. Is actually a longevity game. And I know in that book they did refer Apple versus Microsoft, and when it comes to that,
I remember that story.
Yes, so that story generally, and you've seen it. Literally, like it's always about Apple is playing that long-term game of like, oh, I want to build a brand, and Steve Jobs is always like, how do we improve customer service? How do we make it simple and not as techy as like Microsoft? And I remember in that book he said that when he went to he goes to both conferences, the Apple one and also the Microsoft one, and when they released the phone, I think Microsoft invited Simon Sinek into their launch and like, what do you think about my new phone? It's better than the iPhone. And then he was like, okay,
They're very focused on the feature.
the
They were trying to sell the features.
They were
I
trying to
remember.
sell the features so that they could get sales, but it's not because they're serving their brand generally, but because Microsoft is just very like or Androids are very like techy in a way. Like there's a specific skill set, but you can see the difference. Apple is really like investing on brand, investing on like what's the long-term goal, and that's where it's important for big companies, even small companies, to look into it. Because if you're thinking about profit all the time, then you're looking at the short-term gain. The short-term game of your business is just basically you'll see 5 to 10 years that it will just profit loss. It's just not going to be sustainable for you. But if you trust the process of when a brand is developed and it's for a long-term game, and you want to create an empire or create something that would last a lifetime, not just from your end but also from the future of your kin, then a proper brand would actually help you sustain that. Let's say McDonald's, let's say Apple, even Nike actually invests a lot in their brand. They invest a lot in marketing and promoting that, or continuing that messaging and that value proposition, because their brand needs it, because there's so many competitors out there now, not even like common industry folks, but also even mom and pop shop. They compete in that market. But for you, if you see a brand and you see a logo or a color that you see, oh, that's the brand that I trust, then you will always buy from it. And no matter what, it's gonna be helpful for you in the long term. Of course, if leaders and our leaders would focus on only profit and loss to survive, if that's the current state, by all means, focus on that. But there has to be an investment when it comes to branding, because that's how people will remember and people will actually resonate with your company and your people as well. Even employees too, staff and your culture. That would actually help develop being in that same boat of like, oh, what am I serving for as a employee for this big empire, or even small mom and pop shop? Is I'm serving guests, I'm serving people, I'm serving customers to have a better life, or have a better quality of life when it comes to just getting your earphones or whatnot. Basically, it helps in many different ways, not just from external but also from internal.
So it's more so obviously the quality of life is one, but also the internal fulfillment to some extent.
Yes, the internal fulfillment of anybody, and that's what people want to do. Is like they want to work for a company that is passionate about their work, or they want to be passionate about the world. They want to be passionate about the company and the people that they work for, and branding will help that a lot.
So I know you talked about how big companies spend a lot of money on advertising. But most people aren't big companies.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
Most people are kind of more like your mom and pop
Right.
shops, like smaller business owners, maybe like 2-3 employees, or maybe just independently owned. For someone like that, how do you build brand and compete with like monsters like Nike and Patagonia, and maybe not Apple because that's like tech, but you know, how do you compete with someone who's got such a big brand and you're just like starting out? Like, how do you do it?
There is another book that I think would be helpful when it comes to that. It's called Blue Ocean Strategy.
Ooh, I've also heard that too.
Yes, the Blue Ocean Strategy will help you identify like areas that you could niches in your market that will help you compete. But I agree with you 100% that small businesses sometimes, you know, they don't think about big picture or competing with like a mom and pop shop compete with McDonald's. That's not their market. So understanding who your customers are will actually help you be memorable. I remember, okay, maybe this is a big small plug for the City of Richmond.
That's it, please, by all means.
But there is a duck by the Superstore.
There's a duck.
There's a barbecue, Hong Kong barbecue place or pork barbecue place below Superstore.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
See, I told you about the place alone and whatnot. They don't try to compete with everybody else, but because they have such a strong brand and there's such a strong value proposition that even though I just tell you it's below Superstore, you remember which one. And they have a good quality food. They're not competing to be. They serve the industry of hunger and satisfy that need of hunger, to satisfy that hunger. They're still competing against McDonald's or like some of your fancy stuff, but then because they are so popular and they are really rooted in their core and rooted in their values, that you know that what I'm talking about, which restaurant I'm talking about. So in that sense, that's basically branding of its own because you remember it right away. And they have good quality stuff
For the price point.
for the price point too, and that's the strategy of all of it. So finding that niche is important because you don't want to compete with the red ocean, the most competitive one. You could be just happy and just competing in a small town, be good at it. I remember my dad said in food industry, you don't have to have so many menus. You don't have to have like you know, hao kao or like everything
30-50 items.
30-50 items. That barbecue place is only known for its barbecue stuff. But they serve other things, but they don't expand as much as that because there's an optimum limit when it comes to profitability because you have to store more stuff, you have to like prepare more stuff,
Inventory,
you have to have
waste, all
every
that
waste,
stuff.
and also you have to have workers that will be able to execute that.
And
but if
prep.
you're prepping it, so there's many different, and sometimes they won't order those side dishes or side stuff
then it
that
just
are not
sits there.
popular that sits there. So it's a waste. So he always told me that if you're opening a restaurant, you have to be very, very good at one thing, and one thing will carry you all throughout. And you don't have to have a big store. You can start off with a small store and be popular about that. That could be helpful in having that blue ocean strategy in a way for restaurants.
Did your father have a restaurant?
Well, he actually, well, I call it my father, but basically like when I was little, we basically had like a like a restaurant back in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So basically we served some of the high school staff or university people that really developed that are really hungry when it comes to that one. We have a restaurant back in the Philippines, so that's where.
So
yeah.
your father owns a restaurant in the Philippines.
My father and mother, yes.
Oh,
We own
okay.
a restaurant in the Philippines,
That's
so
funny
that's
'cause
really important.
I work as a server too, so.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, so I get it.
Yes, not here, but basically back in the Philippines, those are small knowledge that I carry on in my career and in my life as a mantra. That's why I feel like even now in my career, like I'm known for one thing is be good at marketing and communication, and that's where it could carry me all throughout. And in the long term, I could feel that would carry me throughout my career, and that's the value proposition I give, and I'm known for that, or at least I'm quite known. If maybe not yet, but
He's getting
I'm
there.
trying to be.
He's on the way.
I'm on my way.
When we talk about being known and marketing communication, there are even bigger brands. Like for example, the other side of things, like Alex Hormozzi's,
Yes.
like Vanderchucks, the Evan Carmichael's, Grant Cardone, big name people. Obviously, they have a very specific hold on the industry for different things. As Alex Hormozzi was his gym launch,
Yeah.
Grant Cardone's real estate, Gary Vee as like marketing agency. When you see that side of things, it's very unconventional. You took the school route; they kind of took like hard knocks route.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think okay. There is when I was studying my master's in China, this question came up in one of the Stanford of VP of academics. In a way, yes, those big names like even Steve Jobs, no, maybe Steve Jobs, who are dropouts. Bill Gates are also
Bill
dropouts.
Gates.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's dropout of Harvard.
like university
Yeah,
dropouts.
university dropouts, and but they make big empires. And one thing that Stanford professor did very well and answered this question very well, and I'll copy him. I can't remember his name anymore, but he said that to be a big empire, that person is only one. In order for you to survive, you need vice presidents. You need people behind you who knows the business, who knows how to operate it, and you need a degree for that. And that really resonated with me a lot because how could you operate a multi-million dollar if you can't read, if you can't write, if you don't understand legal terms, if you can't understand finance, if you don't understand marketing? Of course, that one person probably started it off, but he actually equipped himself with many educated people. And that's the key is like, if you're not very good at it, you have to hire somebody to like help you, and that person have to have qualifications. They're not shining, they're not the one that's like, oh my god, he's so successful. Only the one that's the CEO who's like known for that industry, who didn't study, but he equipped himself with educated people or competent people that are able to like help him achieve that empire. So that's how I would see it. At the same time, like if you want to take the risk, by all means. I don't know how many percentage of high school dropouts get successful, but when they are, or like even just didn't finish university or college, if they are successful, sure, they shine, but do you know how many people that are actually not
That failed.
successful? You don't know that number.
You don't see the failures,
Yeah, you
the
don't see
stories,
the
because they don't
numbers.
talk about it.
They don't talk about it. So how could you quantify, even proportion, that result?
No, that's
If
fair.
that makes sense, right?
No, that does make sense. It's like the funniest. It's like always that saying where it's like, oh, the A students end up working for like the D students. I remember hearing something
Yes,
like that.
yeah, something like that. But at the same time, we need a lot of A students to be able to sustain a big business. But for me, I always wanted to always have a fallback, and education is always a fallback. And the education is not enough. And that's where I realized here, especially here in Canada, your education is not good enough until you network, you meet people, and be outside of your comfort zone. That's where I invested a lot when I was in BCIT. It's just generally like I want to network with everybody. I just went to all engagements that I could do. So now, like I'm more involved than ever in my community, and just providing that expertise, or like trying to showcase myself, or just find genuine connections to people. That's what networking is all about, anyways. It's just to find genuine connections and chatting with them about life. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm a marketing professional here. No, don't say that. You literally wanted to connect to people and have the same values. See if you have the same values or whatnot. So that's where I feel like, okay, networking is something that I need to like flex, and it's important. So education plus networking plus hard work. I think those are the three important like recipe in order for you to be successful after school.
I think so too, because it's funny when you talk about networking, because when people say networking, students are like, business cards, get their contacts.
Yeah.
Like that's not networking.
No. One analogy. Okay, I'm giving you so many examples,
Yeah.
but because I think this is something that I learned in life and I cannot take credit into it. Another person from Langara College did share this information about what networking is all about for her. And she did mention that if you think about networking is more about, it's not a hunting activity, it's a farming activity.
Cultivating.
You cultivate those relationships. You water it sometimes because you meet them in some other time and you chat with them about life. If you're hunting, be like, I'm going to this networking event, be like, I'm giving business cards so that I can land a job. That's literally hunting, but you will only survive for so long. But if you're farming it, you see like, hey John, I saw you in Robson Square. Like, what do you do? Be like, I'm in the catering business, in law, or in like marketing now. And then, oh, that's interesting. Let's chat more. And then next time I see you again in another competition, whatnot, like let's chat again. So just being genuine and being generous with your time and curious as well. Those are very helpful when it comes to networking. So when it comes to networking, that's how I see it now. Before I always would be like, here are my business cards, or I finished a degree in marketing communication. So can you like help me? It's not like that.
No, I think it's fair, because I find too often people think networking is just trying to get opportunities. Like that's usually how it ends up going, because the people are more focused about themselves instead of other people. Like
Yeah.
even like this studio that I have right here, like it was really through like networking. Like most people would be thinking about themselves, but I like served the other guy, and now I have a studio. You know, it's like crazy things that happen like that.
That's true. So it's really cool how like things unfold, and you don't have an actual you have a motive, but you don't have like that's not your ultimate goal. It's basically just like being authentic. That's basically what motive I try to do, and try to like express whenever I meet people, to be authentic and be generous and curious of like what do you do, like how did you end up there? Oh, cool. Like let me share something with about myself, or ask a lot of questions. When you ask a lot of questions, you basically being like, okay, that's who you are, and like I see you again in the next opportunity. How's your kid? How's your fiance? Or did you get married already? Those are like people appreciate that in networking events.
Yeah, remembering the small things is important.
Yeah.
Would you ever say that trying to be someone that you're not is a recipe for disaster? To give you an example, right? There was a period in my life where I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. Like, oh, you know, you see like quote unquote successful people, influencers, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna try to, you know, pretend to be someone I'm not. What I learned was that eventually they see through you. You can't maintain it. They're like, what your expectations are versus what shows, you know, not the same. So like, can't hang with you. For people who are thinking like, oh, I need to become someone I'm not to like become successful, what would you tell them? It sounds like authenticity is important, but what about like successful people? Be around cool people.
I think the success, okay, and this will go back to dancing as well. And Kirill has been working with me when it comes to this type of things, because even in our dance industry, we tend to be someone that who we're not. Maybe we draw inspiration from like people we see in the international stage who are big competitors, and who like we emulate and be like, oh, I like that style, and you try to be that person, but it doesn't work that way, because and I've been exploring it with Kirill and being who I am, because for me, I'm also not a heterosexual male, but I try to be heterosexual in ballroom dancing, but that's not my natural suit. For your audience, I'm basically gay, and I have a very loving fiance that I'll be. We've been together for almost 7 years or 8 years now, coming 8 years this
Fiance now.
Fiance, yeah,
Congratulations.
yes. Thank you. We're getting married next year, hopefully.
If you need a wedding photographer, let me know.
Definitely. But generally, like that sense, like I had to be someone that I'm not. And every gay person tends to be like, oh, like even when you're trying to hide something, because who you are is not accepted or
not congruent.
Not congruent, then you become someone else, and that doesn't make you happy, and that doesn't make you feel good inside. And so when you project it outside, it's not also good. So I find that even in my dance, I'm trying to accept who I am and what my skills are and what my limitations are, rather than, oh, I have to be someone like this because this is what the rules and the industry wanted.
Dictates that this is how you need to win.
This is how I win. This is how I will win, and that's how I will place better. Even letting go of those goals, so it's just like, you know what, I'm letting go of those expectations, even for myself, because what do I really want? And the authentic self, who I am, is I love dancing. That's the only exercise that I can do 24/7. I hate going to the gym. I hate running. I try. For all the kids out there, you should exercise in different ways you can, but I know myself that I really enjoy dancing because I love the teamwork. I love the performance, the showmanship of it. I love the expression of it, and just learning about my body and myself literally helps me like really discover new things and grow as an individual. So staying authentic, I'm still discovering accepting that, because even for networking events, sometimes I'm too scared to be like, hi, like I'm Lester. Sometimes I even say, sorry, I'm Lester. And
Wait, did you say sorry?
I'm so sorry. Yes, that's how my opening line sometimes when I say sorry at the beginning of my opening line, which is not helpful, because I feel like, why am I saying sorry about myself?
We haven't done anything wrong yet.
Yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. So in any networking event, of course you don't want to be like drunk and whatnot if that's your natural sense. You have to be composed and just drink water if you can. But at the same time, like, have the goal. What's your goal in going to those networking events? For me, it's always coming to a goal of curiosity and meeting people authentically, and hopefully that person will be helping me or maybe that person I'll be meeting in the future that I could be like, oh, I'm nervous and coming to this networking event. Are you coming? Like I've done that a couple of times already, being like, I know this person I met one time, and then I suspect he or she is going again to this new event, but it's a much bigger gathering. I will like, hey, are you coming? And be like, yes. Like, can I ride with you, or can we walk together, or can I meet you at the front because I'm so nervous coming in here? That really helped me break through the barriers in being nervous and trying to think that I have to be someone else in order for me to be showing up in my authentic self. So it's helpful and kind of like discovering phase of that area.
No, that's very important because I know, like, for me, I definitely got burned trying to be someone that I wasn't, and I could keep it up for a little while, but people just see through it and it's not good.
I must say too, like knowing you for many years now, John, like basically like I felt that too. I cannot break through. It's just something that I'm like, why is he says, not because you say something, but I'm like, I could feel some sort of wall that I cannot penetrate, or at least I cannot figure out why I feel this way. And it was something that but just recently before we chatted or we had this conversation, there's a big difference with that interaction with you at Robson Square that really made me think that, oh my God, like I want to support this guy. Like, sure, like let me be as to be there as possible, because this guy, I feel like he's more authentic than before. I don't know why.
This brief summary is my roommate helped me get through a mental block with my father because I didn't have a good relationship growing up with my father, and I wanted to like fix that. Never knew how, and my roommate really gave me a shift in perspective and squashed things out with my father and my family, and things are really good now.
Was it your father's expectation of you?
It was
or
just
was
like yeah, expectations. Like, you know, they always want to do better, but I always felt like they were in my way. Like, why are you getting in my way? I want to do this. Why aren't you supporting me? You know, like small stuff like that. You know, why am I not doing the dishes? I did the dishes, but oh, why'd you do the sink? You know, stuff like that, right? Like small stuff that eats at you, and you're just like, well, if that's the case, I'm just not going to tell you anything. Like, should I tell you anything? And it just didn't develop a good relationship because then I became very avoidant. And I just couldn't really accept love, give love, because it was so skewed, because I was so afraid of getting hurt.
Yeah.
So then if I'm going to open up and get destroyed, you know.
That's a fear.
That's the fear. That was the fear. And I always had this mental story that I had in my head, but it wasn't until recently, like a month ago, that I took my parents out with my girlfriend to go out to Banff, and, you know, I made the decision, like, hey, I wanted to hash things out, because I don't know if you saw this video before. There was like a TikTok video of this gangster who was talking about how he had issues with his father, and he went to therapy. And his therapist said that, hey, you need to forgive your father. And like any son who's felt like he's been wrong, why should I?
Yeah.
But, you know, he listened to his therapist and did it, and, you know, his father apologized and cried, super sorry, like I wasn't a good father. And, you know, they hugged it out, and that squashed the beef. And I saw that video like 4 years ago, and I cried the first time I saw it because I really wanted to have that for myself, but I was afraid, right? So it wasn't until like recently, with my roommate opening my eyes to this perspective, that really changed it and shifted my perspective to be like, oh, I gotta fix this with my father. And once I did that, just everything just changed, and I became more authentic. I just, like, things are good. My family always has my back now, so it's just accepting myself for who I am and not being ashamed of it. You know, obviously you are gay, and there's a level of stigma and shame, especially if you're in the church, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone feels that, and it was just until
Are you also Christian
I'm
or a Catholic?
I would say that I went to Bible school when I was younger.
I see.
And my thought process is, if I was religious, I lean towards Christianity. And here's the thing: if Jesus will be behind me when I'm ready. So he's always there when I'm ready. So that's how I would lean. But I wouldn't say I'm like Christian, but definitely lean towards that type of teaching.
No, that's why. Like, I think authenticity is something that, and this is also, I've been learning recently about indigenous teaching. If you hear
like
about it,
Aboriginals.
Aboriginal, yes. So
the
I went
Inuits, the Métis.
the Métis. So there was this one speaker at like a conference that I went in May, that really she showcased herself as black and white, the good and the bad, like, because that's how your authentic self is. Sometimes we always project how good we are, and now I was like, oh, I have a perfect life. I have the best job. I have the best career. I have the best trophy. I have the best. I'm number one in BC and number two in Canada, or like something like that. So because we want to project themselves, but she opened my eyes that as human beings, we need to experience bad things in our life, and we have to acknowledge it and be aware and even be comfortable sharing them, because that's how you learn how to become. That's how you are now. How you're showing up in your own self as like the authentic person. I will tell you a story. Back then, I always say yes to everything.
So you're a
because
yes man.
I'm a yes man. Literally, like, because it's my parents' syndrome of like, you're the eldest person, you have to follow our rules so that your siblings will follow you. Be a good example. I will never like say no to anything. However, I'm learning now that I need to. But that got me into trouble. Back in Asia, where I even put myself at risk, because I won't go into the details of it, but it's just so risky because I just want to please my old boss or my old.
So you just kept saying yes.
Just
but
say
you
yes,
should have
but I
said
should
no
have
for
said
your
no
safety.
for my safety. But I was willing to say yes, and so that really showcased, and I felt like I was even blamed for it, that I said yes.
The fact that you said yes.
Yes, I was blamed for it. I didn't go in. It wasn't big. It wasn't a big.
But they
criminal
made it
thing.
your fault.
Yeah, I made it my fault.
When it shouldn't have been. I just should have said no.
Yes, but then I realized that I should be accountable to what I say and what I agreed on. So that was a slow curve of trying to say no, but then without that experience, if I would come here today, it wouldn't be the same person. I would say yes every single time. I won't be able to share that experience, because that is something that really turned my life around in order for me to be like, okay, like I have to start learning to say no, because as I go up into the career, as I move up in life, like I should learn how to say no to help me, and also be critical when it comes to important matters that I should say no. Or else I'll just be pushed over and be like saying yes. Yeah, sure. Can you jump off the bridge? I was like, sure. It's easy. I can swim. That's something that I would do in the long term. So I appreciate that you shared that with me. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's not easy to share that type of experience when it comes to that. But I think our childhood brings us a lot of like history and a lot of not blockages, but we were.
It really shapes us.
It shapes us, and it makes us this particular person, and it becomes our saboteurs. Our saboteurs makes it very okay, it sabotages us, but because it's us. If you lean in a very, very, very yes mentality, and you want to perform so much, then everything that you do will crush you, because you cannot. It's something outside of your control, cannot be controlled in that way. So that's how I feel like. That's why I have a new perspective with life now. I don't know if that's how you feel.
Yeah, for me, it's definitely a second lease on life, because I had all these mental blockages, just thinking my parents were against me. Why don't they understand me? Like, why are they all doing this? But it wasn't until I basically realized that my parents also had goals, dreams, and aspirations, that they just sacrificed everything so that I could have a better life.
Yeah.
Once I made that mental click, I was going like, oh, I'm a terrible son. I'm not grateful at all. Because I wasn't. I would say I'm grateful, and I would say I've moved on, and I would say it's not a big deal. But I would always bring it up. So I never moved on.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yes. Because it's still there. You haven't really.
But logically, you're like, yeah, I should forgive him.
Because that's the right thing to do.
That's the right thing to do. But it wasn't authentic.
Yeah.
It comes
and then
back to that.
it's still coming out every single time that you see them, or not. So, in that sense, do you feel like how is the journey like being authentic now? Is there anything that you feel like, okay, that any benefit that you find moving forward?
All of this, the studio that I got, literally, the person I was talking to, potentially I'll be helping him running all his businesses for his social media marketing, and that was just me being myself. Just genuinely myself, but I was adding value, and I didn't have any ulterior motive. Back in the day, before John would be like, all right, what do I need to tell this guy to lock in the sale? How can I put myself in a position to be like, all right, I'm really the guy who you should really work with. And now it's just more like, hey, love to be able to add value. It might not be a sale today, but maybe down the road.
Yeah.
I'm just like, sure, why not? Just add as much value as I can. It's a lot better for me to do it that way, because I just feel better about myself and I don't feel like some sleazy salesman. Because back in the day, I really thought that for me to become successful in sales, I have to, do all these shady tactics, and I see these people doing it and they're getting success, and I'm like, if they're gonna pile up corpses and to become successful, then I'll do it too. And it just didn't feel good. And people see it.
But that's the thing. That's also personal branding. And that's how I think in the future, if you want to be known as the sleazy, if that's your personal brand that you wanted to take, by all means, it works for other people. But for me, that's not a brand that I'm authentic at. And that's probably the brand that you are authentic at. And for any company or any individual that you want a particular brand for people to remember you by, you have to develop that. And that's basically staying true to who you are, staying true to what your values and your proposition that you're giving out to other people, either authenticity, expertise, or even just leadership, or just being like a good son or that's something that they would remember, or being a good boyfriend. That's something that people would always remember in many aspects of your life, as long as you stay authentic, and as long as you say that you're discovering who you are, and you're continuously evolving, and you're just staying authentic and true to who you are. That actually makes a lot of difference in this world, in my opinion.
I believe so, because there's a saying that I don't know why I keep hearing it, but it's literally, you could be the juiciest peach in the world, but there are people who won't like peaches.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what I had to come to accept. It was like, there are people who just aren't going to like you, because I don't know if you had this experience before where you did your authentic self, you were who you are, great intentions, you felt like you were doing great, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that was not how the other person took it.
Yeah.
In your experience, have you ever burned any bridges where you're just being authentic, you're trying to communicate, be yourself, and then all of a sudden someone blindsides you, be like, hey, don't like this, don't like you, not for me?
There are a lot of people that throughout my years, and I'm turning 37 this year, throughout my years, that whenever I show my authentic self, they are not...
They don't receive it well.
They don't receive it well, or they don't reciprocate the respect and the love and the care that I bring to them. In that matter, there are more people that actually love us and care about us. And I still stay with them, and I care about them, and I stay connected with them more than the ones that doesn't align to me. And that may be, in a sense, from friends to relationships to loved ones to family. There is a old saying: it's birds of the same feather flock together. At the same time, even when you're growing up as a kid, there's particular people that you don't gel with, but because you don't share the same values, right? So people that share the same value, you become best friends in many years. You might have arguments of the differences in a while, but because your values are actually the same, you are actually friends. So in a way, in the long term, you kind of have to find those tribe in your area.
Tribe's a big word. A lot of people talk about tribes.
Yeah, you find that tribe that really respects you and share the same values as you, in order for you to thrive in this world, not being alone. Even your partner is your tribe. Even your family, if you're going along with them and share the same values, that's your tribe. Friends that you do. So there are instances. Let's say, for example, I show even in our space in ballroom dancing, there are people that are okay, this is a person that I don't really like, because in a way the energy, the values, and it's competition that you find that, oh, why? However, you find people that you're still friends, even though you're competing against each other. I could name few people that I competed against, but they're so nice and they're so good to me, even at this moment, because we share the same value. The one aspect of competition doesn't actually create that rift within that relationship, but people that you don't like to interact. Even in the social dancing, be I'm staying away from you in Robson Square. Literally, you're here, I'll be on the other side.
It's so funny because I always try to make it my goal to kill a couple, in the sense I'm gonna try to take a point. So I was always competitive, but I would try to not win, but like stir the
Yeah.
pot. I'm like, I'm gonna try to take a first spot away from you.
Yeah, well, even in a lot of experiences too, when you go higher in the industry of ballroom, competitive ballroom dancing, you find even outside of the floor, you become even competitors. Like,
Really?
yeah, I find that people will crush your spirit. They will crush your belief in you. And I experienced that. I won't say names.
That's fine.
But I experienced that because I'm like, okay, like this is the type of person you will show up in outside of the dance floor. The dance floor, sure, you can beat me as many times as you want. But at the same time, is this the type of person that you are projecting to me just because you want to diminish my spirit or my confidence? And I struggled a lot with that because I really, really,
Really?
yeah, I really, really associated with that. And maybe because it's pride, or maybe it's because like that's not the values that I carry. But at the same time, I really had that very, very innate feeling that this person is not a good person because outside of ballroom dancing, it's literally like they would kind of like said something that was like a little bit mean, demeaning, and like it's uncalled for a little bit. Which is I'm like, okay, it's a psychological attack, but at the same time, like, like I'm starting to learn to forgive, and I'm starting to learn to like, okay, that's not something that because I'm back then I was pretending as well. So when somebody attacked my persona, I'm like, whoa, like I'm in defense mode. But now I'm an authentic I try to be an authentic person and authentic to what I believe and value. That I'm like, you know what? It's okay. You could tell me whatever you want. It's not something that I acknowledge, or even it's not facing me because that's not something that I agree. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't affect you as much because you're comfortable with you, and
Yes, you accept.
it's just noise. You just accept it. You're like,
You just accept
you
it.
don't like me, sure.
Yeah, sure. If you don't like me, it's not, I don't think they intentionally don't like me. It's because of the competition. I think the competition itself.
Because you're so good. Now, here's the thing, Lester.
No.
Really good. Here's the thing. When I first met Lester and I saw him dancing when I was a newcomer, I was like, who is this guy? Lester had like the most energy, most fun. Like he was having a lot of fun on the dance floor. I was like, this is the guy I need to beat. And he was like 2-3 levels above me. So I was like, I tried. I really tried.
Oh, thank you, John. Honestly, I think honestly during that time too, I actually enjoyed dancing a lot. And then when it became more competitive, I just enjoy dance because it became more this competitive side. But now I'm rediscovering the joys that I want in ballroom dancing. And sometimes like I was also fixated with ranks before.
I didn't care.
I know.
I only cared about beating this person. That was it.
Yeah.
That wasn't even my race. I just need to beat him. That was it.
I think it's because I was in a like very high, like okay, getting good ranking.
You're getting good results.
Good results. But then when I competed with the big fish,
Oh,
a
you
small
got-
fish
you got
and a big
crushed.
fall, I got crushed and my spirit got crushed. So that was a good reality. I went into the phase where like, man, like do I really want to dance?
Why not? Beat 7th place.
No, I know, but at the same time, like, but I lost track of what my goal is, and then pandemic hit, and even more so that you know what, like I'm not even dancing at all. That really lost my purpose. But now I'm starting to rediscover like what do I really want? Why do I enjoy dance? And I think it's ingrained to me now that I have bad habits now because I'm like, ugh.
We all do.
We all do. But at the same time, like, do I care? Not really. Did I not perform in the competition or in the performance the last one? Yes, I could probably improve a little bit more. But at the same time, like, it is something that I thought defined me.
Oh, really?
Ballroom dancing really
defined you.
I thought it defined me. If I'm not a dancer, I am not Lester. But I'm starting to discover many facets in life, like in this world, like a marketer. Like that's one thing I'm passionate about.
Yeah, husband, future husband,
a family, as a kid, as a sibling, as an eldest brother. That really then the pandemic really brought that out, being like, oh, there's this more to life than just dance. I was devastated during the pandemic because I couldn't dance, and I thought I'm clinging to this. I want to win, and then I changed that mindset because I'm not getting the results. I but I still love dance. And so I went back into like, okay, what should I actually do in order for me to really enjoy dance again? And it was always competition after competition after competition. Now I'm like, sorry, we're not ready. Let's not dance this time. And that's fine. And then you go on to the next one. You didn't do the same results. Okay, it's okay. Let's do it for another one.
At the end of the day, it's just dance.
It's just dance. And honestly, the results only is remembered by 5 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
nobody remembers it after like 2 days. Maybe you remember because you win, but at the same time, nobody else is like remembering it. Being like, it's not like a. Plus, we don't get money anyways.
We don't
in
get
ballroom
money.
dancing.
We're too
we
poor
actually
here.
we actually pay.
Yeah, we pay for
pay
our
as
hobby
competitors to
lose.
to lose,
and maybe one person wins.
or have a moment to shine in ballroom dancing. But that's the performance part that I enjoy a lot.
Oh, me too.
Yes, it's just the elegance, the preparation, the warming up,
The story on
the
the
story
floor.
on the floor, and
People
just-
bumping into each other. Like, "Woo!"
Yes, or like just evoking a performance to the audience that people enjoy and be like clapping for you. That's the fun part, and it's something that hopefully we do more, because that's also an aspect of me, but it's not me alone.
It's not what makes you you.
Yeah, that's true. And so I'm excited for more opportunities moving forward, right?
Oh, me too. I might come back. We'll see.
Okay, cool.
We'll
I'm
see.
so excited.
We'll see. My coaches are trying to they're always trying to get me back in, and I was like, and it's funny because I kind of want to get back. There's this girl who's like really good, but my coach just says, ooh, a lot of bad habits. But I'm like, oh, it was really fun dancing with her.
Yeah.
And I think we'll jump back into it because it's fun dancing with her. Because I think at the end of the day, sure, I could really work on the technique, really work on the foundation and stuff, but at the end of the day, I enjoy dance. It's fun.
And that's also one thing that I think from our industry, or at least from the ballroom dancing realm, is not appreciated. It's the partnership. Normally, when you dance with someone, that becomes your girlfriend or your partner or husband or wife.
Sometimes that happens.
Sometimes
not
that
always.
happens, and that's the most ideal state, but not always. Especially for for a gay, homosexual man like me. Like, I work with a woman or a follow, and basically like there happens to be a woman that I'm not attracted to, but it's the teamwork, it's the ethics, the discipline, and also sometimes not the discipline, but the connection, and the friendship that we built together. That's what I think I enjoy a lot, mostly when I dance with my partner Cindy, is whenever we come to dance, we're so focused on what we do, and we are entrenched in like the process of developing and feeling each other and connecting with each other. And then sometimes after that, we'll just chat about random things, and we go out on a side basis with my partner and his husband and her husband. And that's the friendship that I value a lot, because it's something to consider when you're looking for a partner, for a dance partner. It's because do you have the same ethics? Do you have the same work ethics? And do you have the same values when you work together? Does she accept you for your authenticity? And ever since we partnered with each other, we never got into a major argument. We have differences, but not an argument. And that's what I value. If somebody just started to be like, meh, 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 like,
You see that on the dance floor. People will yell at each other on the floor.
it's so I cannot function that way, and that's where me and Cindy like complement each other, because we don't do that.
I think that's like the fun parallel with ballroom dancing or dance partnership in general. It really parallels to just having a healthy relationship in general with anyone.
Yes.
Because you find people who work with you, same goals, alignment, and you can talk it out and you have mutual respect for each other. I
Right.
find that that's really an amazing way to just communicate with people in general.
And it's funny because like, what's the actual goal? Like, you don't need the motivation behind it to be nice to each other. Like, why? It's a dance partnership. It's like not a contract, but like a transaction within, like, you come to work because you get paid. But what's the ballroom dancing?
We show up, put in our time and money. to
time and
pursue a
money,
sport.
pursue a sport. What do you get out of it? What do you think? What do you get out of it for that partnership and whatnot?
For me, it's fun. I just like stirring the pot. In the beginning, I was like, I'm going to do things differently. Let's see what happens. And I just always had a mindset of like, this is the guy I'm trying to beat. I'm never going to beat for now. Let's stick with this guy. And I just had a lot of fun, and you would see cool things that you want to try to do, emulate, see if you could take his few points. For me, it wasn't really mastery, because I just understand that if I wanted mastery, should have started 20 years ago. But for me, you know, I see like little kids 13 years old just absolutely crushing it, and I'm like, if I could just steal like 30% of that, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
And I think for me, at the end of the day, it's a lifestyle.
Because we started late.
Yeah, we started really late. But I think it's a way to be able for ourselves to express artistically, because at the end of the day, it's an art form, but it's a good way to stay in shape.
Thank you for saying it's an art form.
Yes, it is. I feel like ballroom dancing is an art, but we train our bodies like athletes.
That's true. I agree with that statement. No, that's true.
That's how I would put it.
Because it's a physical activity that you have to like really
Very
put into
physical.
like very physical. With 5 dances, almost 10 minutes of
Crazy
nonstop
cardio. We are sweating bullets at the end of that. Oh my god.
That's true. Well, for me, like when it comes to ballroom dancing, I just, like I said, I told you, I love the performance. I like the process of discovering what I can do with the body, and I like the teamwork behind it, from the connection with my partner, and like trying to figure out the figures, because I can't play music. I cannot play a musical instrument. Like I wish I was, but I'm just more. I like expressing that music.
Mm-hmm.
So dancing was always been a very big part of my life. So in a way, like that's what I want, and at the same time, I like the showmanship. I remember when I was in a dance group, because I'm so tall, I'm always at the back, and I don't like being in the back, and I don't like being in the side.
You want to be center.
I want to be center and be like, everybody look at me. So that's why ballroom dancing is perfect, because international ballroom dancing, because I like to be like, I'm in front of you, I'll be showing my stuff, my partner, look at her, something like that. That's where I'm like, I enjoy that a lot.
No, that is amazing. Because for you though, do you want to pursue ballroom dancing at an even higher level, or is it more for you just a hobby? Like, where would you say? Because I can tell you for myself, it's more a hobby. It'd be nice to just devastate people on the floor if I can, but I know like if I don't put in the work, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So for me, it's definitely more of a hobby, something I dabble into again, just to, you know, maintain these legs of mine. But for yourself though, where do you see yourself with ballroom right now in your career?
Actually, I don't have a clear answer for that. Mm-hmm. I'm still discovering what possibilities are there. For me, it has been a hobby, and for now, like I work hard just because like the requirement to do a good performance and a good dance is constantly being on it. I'm still discovering what I need, or what my next progression when it comes to the ballroom career could be. Professionally, it could be just for a hobby again. However, I'm also discovering different facets of my life that it's not just in dance, like in marketing too. Like I can see more, finding more opportunities and looking into like what do I really want when it comes to the marketing side. So there's a lot of at 37, you think you know what you want, and eventually like no, actually
Still kind of
finding again, because when you were younger, you have like all the energy, you have all the stamina in doing and like trying to discover the world, and then when things don't happen, you try to recalibrate and find a sweet spot. And then in my early 30s, I found a sweet spot, and then now I'm like, what should I do again?
What's the
next big thing? And then that's where I think it's like going back to my previous like what I mentioned before. It's a constant learning. It's like it's discovering what's next for me. As I enter into the 40s, not senior 1, maybe senior 2, I don't know. But at the same time, like, what's next for me, either from a career-wise, from a family-wise, and getting married next year, a lot of planning.
Yeah.
So hopefully that comes up. I know that there's a plan for me when it comes to that, and I think I'm always looking at what's my long-term goal. And my long-term goal is to have I want to be in marketing and be like one of the marketing experts when it comes to like the new technologies, and in developing strategic marketing plans. That's what I wanted. It's like, can we use TV? Can we use different avenues and mediums? And what's the new medium? What's a cool medium? what people like ballroom dancers use right nowadays. Do they use TikTok at all? Like, and that is that the medium that they use? Do they use is Instagram in 5 years going to be not used at all for some of those things? So that's something that I'm excited because technology will fast pace it, but I'm scared and I want to be as current as possible because things change quickly now.
Couldn't you start up your own agency or just be a consultant? Because you have a lot of knowledge, right? You could be able to go into small mom and pop shop and like come up with a plan and help them out because it's more down to earth. You're like helping like the little guys. Like there's so much you can do. Have you thought about that possibility?
I thought about it a lot. I just don't have the courage to invest on. I like marketing. I'm not a good salesperson.
I can help you with that. I'm not a good marketer. That's not true. I'm good at selling. I'm good at selling. Okay.
Let's put that in a cut version. Like cut that out.
Because no. I have my strong suits when it comes to marketing, but Lester has his strong suits when it comes to. I think you can definitely sell yourself. Like I could help you. It's not even that hard. There's a ton of people who could use your skill set that would love to know what you do. Because I would love to know like the numbers, the side of things. I don't know the number side of things. I'm just really good about like brand value. Like that's me. He's definitely got the analytics side down.
Yes. So I think with starting our own agency, that has been a thought of mine, and that has been like something that I might look into in the near future. But I think I need to build up a little bit more. I want to do a lot of other things as well. Let's say, for example, I'm helping build out the Filipino Cultural Center here in BC. So I'm part of the Mabuhay House board.
When you say build,
so basically we're partnering with the provincial government in building a Filipino Cultural Center. So we're looking at possibilities. We're looking into the feasibility study of building a Filipino Cultural Center in British Columbia through fundraising, through grants, through the federal government, if they're trying to do that. So as a board member, I'm also discovering new things about how to become a non-for-profit board member. And I lead their marketing and communication side of things and supporting that cause. And it's a lot of work, but I'm enjoying a lot because it's bringing back that corporate responsibility or even just giving back to my community that I kind of like ignored for a long time because I was focusing on my career. So now I'm trying to give back to that. And at the same time, also with the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade, building my network, and also NABS. I'm also the new champion for NABS West. So NABS is a mental health hotline or a mental health support for people in the agency world or in the marketing world. If you're looking for like mental health support and whatnot, NABS West will actually support our industry professionals in Canada.
Huh. That's interesting. I've never heard of that. I mean, you usually hear like the typical hotlines, right? But why specifically NABS for agencies?
So I think it's known in the agency world or in the marketing world that it's cutthroat, at the same time it's stressful because things are really fast and it's very competitive
like
when
high
it comes
stress
to
environment
if you see Ugly Betty, those type of things, or even just Emily in Paris, like that type of like shows.
Yeah,
you can see how stressful agency because you're trying to get a client. If you lost a client, then it becomes a little bit more challenging. But NABS provide that. It's trying to innovate and providing marketing professionals with resources and tools in order to deal with their mental state and helping them be a little bit more supportive. And they helped me when I was starting as well. When I graduated during the pandemic, I was sending out my resumes everywhere, but I didn't get any response. And so I reached out to them. They had a resume workshop, and this person helped me create my resume out of, from what I had before. And ever since I did that, it actually helped me with job application, and I got calls moving forward. So in a way, it's a way for me to give back. Throughout my career, I could say I'd done it all along. There are a lot of people that helped me, from my mentor, to your family, to your partner, to these people, the associations that I work with that really push me a little bit more to be a little uncomfortable, or push me to improve and be better, and gave me the right tools and gave me the right resources that in a way, like that's what we need in all of our industry right now. It's just to support each other and help each other when it comes to that. So I find that now I'm trying to give back just because I have a little bit more stable career, and I benefited from their support. So it's now for me to give back.
No, that's fair. It sounds like you want to be able to definitely give back first and give back to the community.
Yeah.
So the consultant is just in the back burner, not
Yeah,
something
not something that I want to pursue. For now, it's just the non-for-profit side. So from the from a marketing communication job, and then also from the non-for-profit, I think I'm focusing on the non-for-profit now. Maybe in the future, as I meet more people and I kind of feel a little bit more confident in my skills, and also maybe the sales skills, or maybe if you're interested, like
I'd
partnering,
love to
something
be.
like that.
Would you love to like help me out a bit? I'll bring you on, do some few-hour consultation type of thing.
Well, you can always like reach out to me, John, for anything, especially for marketing. And I know that you're studying at BCIT, and I'm really happy that you chose BCIT because that really will catapult you to the next level. There are a lot of new facets and then a lot of new things when it comes to marketing, but hopefully you find your sweet spot as well, and that's something that you're passionate about. Then you'll be authentic, and in a way that brings you joy and satisfaction for your next phase in your career.
Absolutely. I want to wrap this all up with just 2 questions.
Yep.
Number 1, is there anything that you actually not? Let's go with number 2 first.
Yes.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish I asked you during the show? Because I know there's sometimes people are like, you should have asked this. And good segue, we never did. Is there anything that you would like me to have asked that I didn't ask?
That's a very unique question.
I know, because there's people times where I'm like, I could
I
have
love
shared this,
that.
but I couldn't share
Can I
this.
copy that? Can I
Yeah,
copy
absolutely.
that?
Please take it. It's great. Because it's like, as an interviewer, I don't always have the greatest questions. And maybe sometimes there's something I missed that you would have loved to share, but I just never gave you the chance to.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't, that you would like to be able to share with the people?
Maybe one thing that comes to my head, like the first thing that maybe you could have asked me, it's like, how do I phrase it? How to stay grounded, and how to staying true, like during my journey, maybe, and like discovering yourself and staying authentic. Like, how do you stay grounded and assessing what is good and what is bad?
Isn't that the same thing? Staying grounded and being authentic, is that, to me, that sounds like it's the same thing. Is it not? How would you define that?
It's the same thing, but at the same time, sometimes I don't want to push it to like, okay, if you're authentic, that's good. Sometimes even though you're authentic
with
self,
no tact is bad.
Yes, if you're
That's kind of
authentic,
sometimes.
but then you offend someone else, that's maybe we could have follow up with that a little bit more. But I've been talking to this mentor, coach, a career coach of mine, and I pursued him just because his name is Alvin Chan, and I pursued him because I wanted to I want to develop my leadership skills and discover myself. But through my leadership journey, it's actually honing into what I am more as a person, and what my values are. So he did tell. I asked him this question, being like, how do I know if me being authentic would hurt someone else? And what he told me was that, if you're authentic and that his question was, do you think you're a good person?
Everyone thinks they're a good person.
Yes, everything thinks that you're a good person. Second, do you think that your actions are good? And of course, yes, as well.
Yes, yeah.
But then the last layer that you have to think about is, did you hurt someone? Yeah, so in that 3 avenues, yourself, your actions, and did it imply to someone else did it affect someone else in a positive or negative way? Even if that didn't reach that criteria that you are able to answer to be yes, 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 then that's how you'll evaluate that it's not, it's something that you have to reevaluate if that's really what you are, who you are and who you truly are when it comes to your authenticity.
That
and
would
staying
help
grounded, right?
a lot of people. So that's what you mean by staying grounded. Are you a good person? Are your actions good? But the main one is, are you hurting someone, even if it's their feelings?
Yes. Or did other people benefited in a positive way, right? Like you want to be, if you feel, if you love yourself and your actions are in the intentions of love, and at the same time did actually help other people, then that actually, if you love yourself, you give love, you take love, you give love as well. So if in the core itself you feel like, oh, there is goodness in you and your actions are good, and then other people are benefiting from that goodness, then you know that you are in a more, your authentic self could be a force for good.
Okay, so what you're saying is, even though sometimes you have the right intentions, but you hurt someone,
Yeah.
that is...
Yes, that might be something that you have to reevaluate and really think about it as like, okay, or maybe there's a misunderstanding or whatnot. So there is always a implication of anything that you do, especially when you act on something.
Then would you tell people is like, when people ask that, and it's like, why do you care what people think? Just, forget about the haters. But there's that level of like, don't care about what other people think about you. Where do you draw that line and distinction?
Well, at the same time, like if once you feel that, it always comes to the core. If your core thinks that you believe it, that you did good, and then you know that your actions were good, and then maybe it didn't work out to that way, was there something of self-improvement? Be like, oh, could I have done a little bit better?
Self-reflection.
Self-reflection. It doesn't mean that you did something bad, and then you have to like, oh my God, I'll have to change my own self. But would there be a tweak in the next round that you'll be doing it? Because a response from other people, it means that you might be doing something really bad, and that's self-mastery. When you master yourself, that you are not emotionally offended by like, oh, I hurt someone, and then you're soaking into it because your emotions are dragging you down, then you haven't mastered your emotions yet. And that's important. If you have self-mastery, is like from your core, you know what you are, who you are, your actions reflect who you are and what you are, and then people also resonate with that, then you're able to have a positive and more fulfilling life, in my opinion.
Okay, and last but not least, is there anything that you want to be able to share with the audience, the people watching this? Any final words, anything that you want to be able to shout out?
Well, I think for a lot of like things happening nowadays when it comes to our life, I would just state, the last thing I would say is probably the last word that is coming into me is gratitude, and I'm very grateful that you invited me, John, and at the same time we're having this conversation, because this is a different level that I've known you since in ballroom dancing, or even in like a casual
That's true.
discussion. And
This side has never shown up really ever.
no, and I could see, and you open the window to your life now that you are exploring, and I'm really happy that this is happening for you. And for me, like it's a gratitude for a lot of ways for this opportunity, gratitude for all of the experiences that we're having, and gratitude in a way that things are lining up and future looks very positive, and things are gonna be better and more satisfied. Basically we're satisfied with things happening forward. So I want to thank you, and I want to be grateful to everybody that hopefully can see this, and hopefully they could like learn something maybe from my experience, and I'm just grateful for that opportunity.
No, and I'm grateful for you like being part of my life too. When I saw you first in ballroom dancing, you're definitely someone who like really inspired me, because like actually you were like really good and you were so outgoing. So I'd love to be able to continue fostering this relationship. We'll keep doing that, don't worry.
Yes. Well, for your YouTube channel, hopefully it becomes a million followers and whatnot. But at the same time, like it's nice to see like how things are unfolding, and you never know, you will discover anything. And it's like I said, the first time I met you, I was like, oh, John, like who's this John? Like he's like not an ass, but sorry, I don't know if I can say that in.
Yeah, it's fine.
Basically, like, but I was like, oh, I cannot break his barrier, but at the same time now it's a different layer, and it's a different like experience, and I'll be authentic. I'll be true. That's how I felt earlier. I was like, oh, dude, why? But now sharing about your dad, sharing about your career and your goals, really made me, appreciate you even more.
Thank you, Lester. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show. This has been Lester, so I want to thank you obviously once again. And if you have any questions, comments, let us know, and I'll also be putting out Lester's social media handles down in the description so you'll be able to follow him, ask him questions about anything that you would like to ask. Once again, thank you so much, Lester, for hopping on the show with me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That's awesome.